It's the start of a new year, and what better way to celebrate it than to make a list of my favorite games from 2016 so you can say my tastes are garbage. I wanted to make this a top 10 list, but it got increasingly difficult for me down the line to say what my favorite games were. Between that and wanting to get this out before 2018, I decided to just make this a list of every game that stood out to me enough to make it worth a mention, which in my case turns out to be 6 games I'll be talking about. I think it's worth saying that these are my personal favorite games of the year that I got the most enjoyment out of. That doesn't necessarily mean I think these games are the best for everyone or that even everyone should play these. These were just games that were memorable to me in one way or another, whether that means I found them incredibly innovative or I just ended up wasting an unfathomable amount of hours on them for no apparent reason. I also didn't get into a lot of the big release titles, so please don't hate me if I missed your favorite. So with that, let's just jump right into it. First up for number 6, we have Enter the Gungeon. A lot of people have compared this game to The Binding of Isaac, and if you asked me which one I liked more, I would say, well, I don't know. Games with randomly generated labyrinths and permadeath are a dime a dozen, but it's incredibly addictive gameplay and huge array of weapons and items that make me play this game over and over. I honestly can't think of anything new this game brings to the table, but everything it does extremely well. It doesn't have the same amount of time Isaac has had to refine and add features, but I think I enjoy the combat in this game a little more. There's something about this frantic twin-stick shooter that's exhilarating, and even though the game is quite difficult, I never felt it was cheap. Next up at number 5, we have Overcooked. I think we take good multiplayer for granted nowadays. If it can be shoehorned in somehow, multiplayer is there. Like it's on some sort of game development executive's checklist, and he's standing there making sure it happens. I don't even think it occurs to most developers that multiplayer can be made compelling and interesting as a feature rather than a typical kill or beat the other guy. I'm not saying I'm against PvP or competition in multiplayers, just that it's been boiled down to the same shallow, deathmatch-like mess it's been for years. And that's why Overcooked is getting this spot. What should be completing simple, mundane tasks with friends turns into an absolute tire fire in seconds. It nails local co-op perfectly, and it's one of the best experiences I've had with my friends in a video game. Both the amount of communication and just the amount of chaos this game has caused may not be replicated for quite some time. I can't really recommend this game if you're flying solo, but if it's just you and another buddy, and especially if you have 3 buddies, this game is an absolute blast. At number 4, we have a huge guilty pleasure pick of mine, Atelier Sophie. The Atelier series has always been relaxing to me, and this one is no exception. This is like the Harvest Moon of JRPGs, bringing together typical JRPG mechanics and a crafting system through alchemy. Everything is just so pleasant in this game, and there's more of an emphasis on community than anything else. There's no great evil to defeat or journey to fulfill some prophecy or anything crazy like that. There is a bit of a main story going on, but it's not overbearing at all, and most of what's going on just boils down to you helping your friends and crafting and exploring as you please. I feel like I'm selling this game a little short with this description, but it has a lot of depth as well. Crafting can get fairly complex, and the crafting minigame really makes you think about how to get the most out of your materials. Combat may be simple, but it's not void of strategy either. And the characters, they're just too nice and charming. It's just really hard not to like everybody in this game. If anyone is looking for a feel-good RPG that will last you a good while, I think this game is excellent. Now here's a pick I'm sure that will be confusing to most people because number 3 for me is Shadowverse. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was much younger, and not too long ago I was into a card game called Cardfight Vanguard, which has gone to complete shit. That's around the time I started getting into Hearthstone, which I do really enjoy, but I can't shake this frustration with its heavy use of RNG, stagnating metas, and the need to punish combo decks as a viable deck type for the game. And then Shadowverse comes along and does everything Hearthstone does, but a little bit better. Even though it does follow a little bit of the Magic the Gathering formula, just like Hearthstone, I find its cards far more interesting and its evolve mechanic a fascinating part of the game. It just feels like an overall more balanced game. And in my case, I find the heavily Japanese-inspired art well done and visually appealing. I'd recommend this game to anyone who's into card games, even if the anime aesthetic puts you off. I've probably spent more time on this game than any other game in 2016. Now let's just hope they can keep this game balanced and interesting. Coming in at number 2, we have Doom, and let me tell you, it pains me not to put this at my number 1 spot on principle. I feel like there's very little I can say about this game that hasn't already been said. Just like everyone else, when Doom was coming out, I didn't even consider it could be good. It was either going to be a nostalgia pandering cash grab or Titan Duty Call of Battlefield 6. And thank goodness I was wrong. This is how you do a reboot right, and it serves as a reminder on how much of a blast high adrenaline slaughterfest first-person shooters can be. No chest-high walls to hide behind as the blood falls off your face, it's just you, your guns, and hordes of demons. To me, I felt the protagonist was one of the most interesting ones I've seen in a shooter in quite some time, and he never says anything. He's just as unfiltered and badass as this game, and acts like someone would if they were in this situation, doing the things you're having him do. I fell out of this genre a while back, suffering from burnout of playing what felt like the same game over and over, and I can't tell you how refreshing this game is. I'm skeptical the bar this game set will be reached for quite some time. And at number 1, we have No Man's Sky. And at number 1, we have Stardew Valley. With the Harvest Moon series losing that special spark for me, and the Rune Factory all but dead, it's been a long time since I felt the magic from this sort of game. Building relationships with friends, working on something to be proud of, fishing. I really like fishing. I felt like maybe I was just getting old when these sort of games weren't as fun as they were to me before. And then Stardew Valley comes along and just blows all of that away. There's just so much heart and soul in Stardew Valley, and I was actually surprised by how captivated I was by it. Even if it's not the most graphically amazing game or interesting game from a technical standpoint, I had more fun with this game than any other game in 2016. It really sucks you in, and it's one of the most charming and heartwarming experiences I've had in years. I came into this game looking for a way to scratch that Harvest Moon itch, but somehow I came out loving this game far more than I ever anticipated. It's a different game than the one it appears to mimic. I don't need you anymore, Harvest Moon. I've got Stardew Valley. And a new Rune Factory game would be nice. And those were my favorite games of 2016. There are a lot of games I haven't played yet, such as Uncharted 4 or Owlboy, that all feel like they had the potential to make it on this list. And there were a lot of games I considered for this list, but just didn't grab me as much as everyone else, like Firewatch or Overwatch. For me though, that just goes to show how great of a year it was for gaming in general. So let me know what your favorite games were of 2016, and here's to hoping for a great 2017.